So now I'm going to go on to step 2. I'm going to talk about my likes and dislikes about the board. My number one like about it is that it's electric, which is really cool. I feel that like I haven't been able to compare it to other electric longboards, but I did do my research before I did purchase it, and it is definitely one of the best ones that I found, spec-wise and look-wise. Another like that I like about it is that it has the flexibility in the board, that it's still made out of a durable board, and loaded longboards are extremely great. They're one of my favorite boards to ride, so the flexibility definitely helps the ride. Having the orangutan wheels is awesome as well. They definitely used quality products when they were making this, and you can definitely tell that even the mechanism that that makes it the electric portion of the board, the boosted components of the board are really well made as well. I am definitely a huge fan. I'm from Canada, so getting it here was a little bit difficult. So now moving on to my dislikes about the board. Dislikes is that you can't buy the back rails of the board that scrape up, that have a tendency to scrape up a little bit more. These back rails here, you can't buy just the replacement. It looks like they'd be pretty easy to replace. You can buy replacement wheels for these pieces here, replacement belts and stuff like that, but I didn't see that you could buy a replacement shield, which would be really helpful. Another complaint, which is probably something probably minor, but I'd really like it if the board went a little bit further, but that's just me being naggy. The board does go far enough for my travels in Leduc. I can go across Leduc no problem and back, so it works out really well. But I feel like it could go further. I definitely feel that the potential for future, that they will make a board that does go further, which is awesome. Another dislike that I have about it is that I do wish that it was a little bit longer, but the length for riding it is really good. I find that it's good. I don't even mind the weight of it. I feel that the weight is a bearable weight. It's definitely not something that I'd want to be doing long hikes with or anything, but I still feel that the board itself weighs for what you're getting. It doesn't feel overweight, and I feel that the weight actually does help you with cornering and also stabilization of the board, which is awesome. Another dislike is this piece here. I find sometimes when I'm riding that it just pops out, and I don't want to get water in there, obviously, but it takes a little effort to kind of make it pop in, which is a little bit annoying. And when it does pop out, it kind of worries me about getting water or dirt up in there, which kind of is a scary thought after you spend so much money on the board. And then my last complaint about the board is that with me living in Canada, with the exchange rate, on top of it, so you're not only paying the $1,500 for the board, then you have to put the exchange rate on top of that, and then you have to pay your customs and then shipping and everything on top of that. So it was a little bit expensive. At first I was a little mad about how expensive the board was, but once you get on the board, it is definitely amazing. It is well worth all the money that I did spend on the board, trying to get it here to Canada and doing it through customs and all of that, with the exchange rate and all. I definitely would purchase another one if need be. The board is amazing. It's something I've never seen before, and it's definitely something that a lot of people haven't seen before around where I live. I took it to the local skate shop, and they loved it. Another thing that I like about it is that it has the app, which is way easier to switch the modes on the board than using the controller. There is a way to switch the modes using just the controller if you don't have a smartphone, but trying to figure out how to like what buttons to press and what each light means, trying to remember that is a little bit difficult. So using the app is really quick and easy to switch. Another thing I like about the board is that it's really easy to teach people how to longboard, just the feel. My girlfriend, she's never snowboarded, skateboarded, or anything, and she was able to grasp the concept really easy. I feel that the hardest part about longboarding is finding your balance while you're pushing, and switching between pushing and then just riding, switching between foot positions. But if you're able to grasp and balance how to ride a longboard, it definitely helps you in the learning department for sure. So ways that I feel that you can make the board a little bit better is step number 3. In just comparison, the board itself just kind of looks a little plain, or if you just look at it, it's just kind of a plain board on the bottom. Loaded kind of has a little bit of not the greatest designs for the bottoms of the boards, where if you go to land yachts, they have extremely cool designs on the bottom of the board. I understand that the bottom of the board does eventually get scraped up, but when it's just kind of plain like this, I understand that it gives it kind of a more of a different look, probably, for what they were going for. But I feel like if it had a really cool design on the bottom, it might make it look cooler. But I'm more of a fan of land yachts' designs. I just finished getting a tattoo of their design on my arm. So another thing that I feel that they could do to make the board a little bit better is if they made the board a little bit longer. I feel that maybe they would be able to extend the battery pack and make the battery life a little bit longer. Another thing that I feel that they could change is how low this piece is. Instead of making it low on here, I don't know if they'd be able to make the design a little bit smaller. Like if this gear wasn't as big, and like I'm no mechanic by any means, but I feel like if this gear was maybe a little bit smaller, or you were able to make it so the component isn't so exposed, that would be extremely helpful. Or even if it wasn't as low, that would be helpful as well. Another thing that I feel that you could do to make the board a little bit better is if you had interchangeable battery packs. So you could charge it here, just the battery pack itself, or if you were able to take the battery pack off and put on a new one, I feel that would be extremely useful in helping to get further distance. So if you had a backpack or something, you could just throw in an extra battery and just put it in there and connect it all up, and then you could go further with the board. I feel like that might alleviate some people's concerns about how far the board could go if you could have an extra battery pack. I certainly love the board. It's holding up really well. I've taken it down some rocky kind of roads, and it is getting banged up a little bit, but the battery pack's holding up really well with the plastic that they've had. Another thing that I feel that they could do to make it a little bit better is if they don't even change up this design, if they just made this shield replaceable, that would be extremely, like, that would make the board 10 times better for me, because I'm worried that I'm gonna end up scraping this down and then and then ruining the gears or whatever. It's nice to have the shield where it is. Other than that, grip tape on the board itself is awesome. Between the two different types, the more coarse and a little bit less coarse of a grip tape. The marking on the end is easy to identify. Also, I identify this wire kind of sticks out a little bit. I know Casey Neistat spray painted a giant arrow on his board, not only to tell him which direction, but it's also so people don't run over his camera and equipment, which is probably something I'll end up doing here. But if I can't think of any ways to cut down weight of the board, the only thing that I could think of is that these chucks are a lot thicker than I'm used to seeing. Like, if you look at a comparison here, do a comparison of that one to this one. I understand that you have to have a little bit more of a heavy-duty chuck, but for the board itself. But I feel like if you used something that was a little bit thinner, it might make the board a little bit weigh a little bit less, so you might be able to get a little bit more out of it. Maybe another thing that they could do is offer different styles of boards. I know this is kind of getting out of what they want to do, and it probably would cost more to be able to produce different variants and stuff. But I feel that the wheel choice really complements the logo and everything else. But the board does get a lot of gunk up in the bearings of the wheels, which is really easy to clean out with Q-tip. But I'm worried that the wheel spin on them is kind of with the bearings that are on them aren't as good as say someone's used to. So you can see that the wheel's spinning, but this one's already stopped. So I'm gonna have to fix that, I think. So you can still see it spinning, and then it stopped. And then when you go to one that I have a little bit better of a bearing setup on, the wheels they both continuously spin. So other than upgrading the bearings as well, that might help the board as well. That would be another thing that I might change on it. Another thing that I really like about the board is that you don't have to charge the remote every time. Like when the board's dead, you don't have to go and charge the remote, so that kind of frees up one more plug-in, as it does take a different plug-in to charge the remote. The cord to plug it in, I feel, is long enough. It's pretty much standard length for like a laptop, or I would say even longer. It does connect the board. You see a lot of these little devices that you can put on keychains and things like that. I feel like if you were able to track the long board, I feel like that would be a really cool feature, not only for theft, but it would be cool if you wanted to start a business and like how people rent bikes, if you were able to rent electric longboards. So my overall take of the board is it's amazing. I definitely prefer it over other boards that I've seen on the internet. It has the flexibility of a regular longboard, like other loaded boards, which is amazing. The battery pack isn't huge on it. I see other boards where the battery pack is huge and runs along the entire bottom of the board, which I feel would get scraped up a little bit more, and also reduces the flexibility of the board, which makes the ride a lot more rigid. So you feel every bump, where with the board flexibility you're not feeling every bump. I feel the fact that they're using quality grade materials, using a company or working with a company like Loaded to produce such a board in such a way that they could run the wires through the board